So we are dealing specifically with food here, but are any of the other departments in your newspapers engaging with bloggers like you guys are? I mean, can you think of? I mean, I think food is just really well suited for this kind of
Our
interaction.
travel section does a great job. I think they are really setting the standard for the paper. They use so much content in print. They're doing a great job.
How do they do that? Do they do it, reprint it verbatim, or?
A little bit of both. They do some editing, some reprinting, a lot of reader photos that ends up tying back to a particular blog or some cases books or whatever.
I think it's weather. We have a TV station that we're paired up with in-house, and they've really patched in. Weather's a big deal in Tampa. Hurricanes, typhoons, smog. And so they've really tapped into that. I think sports is a natural, really grassroots stuff, especially on the high school level. But I think the food section is leading in that regard.
Can you guys look ahead sort of over the next couple of years and forecast any changes that you see, or if it's just going to be more of what we're talking about here?
I mean, at CNN, there's more and more and more of focus on iReport. It's a priority. Actually, we're going to unveil this week just some more enhanced features with that. If any of you are out South by Southwest, that's actually one of the sort of panels that's happening. Yes, because we realize that the way to report news is we can't be everywhere, but the people who are in all different places can talk back to us and show us what they're doing in their corner of the world. One of the biggest mandates we have, especially at CNN.com, is connecting the global to the personal. So there is this huge, there's something huge happening in the world. It could be a war, the tsunami, just tremendous events. It could be just Christmas or something like that. We want to see how people are telling that story at home, and that could be on a political level, that can be on a food level. So it's happening more and more, at least at the organization that I'm at.
So bloggers definitely have to prove themselves, whereas traditional media, are proved because you're part of CNN. You're part, you have this team of people who are keeping you honest.
To try.
Yeah, and a blogger is just a blogger, and we do everything, ourselves. And until you know us and trust us, you don't know who the heck we are. But I do think it's interesting that at least for magazines solicit free shit all the time, and they don't write, I got a free weekend at this spa, ever. And I just think it's interesting, and I'm finding that we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard because we don't have, that history and that relationship, but I just think it's interesting, and I was wondering what you guys think of that.
I think it's dicey for bloggers because you have to it's sort of like running to catch up on a streetcar. You have to match their speed, and if their speed is extremely ethical, above board disclosure, that's a pretty difficult car to catch. But and go beyond. You have to exceed that to at least until you establish your credibility. I would argue that that's a better standard to shoot for, because once you get on the junkets and on the free stuff, it's hard to wipe that off of you. And I'm not saying we're better. I'm just saying we set ours a long time ago because we had to. As Renee said, we will do the due diligence. We will find out. It always comes out. It's easier to find out nowadays than ever if you've showed up on the beaches of Cozumel and all of a sudden, hey, I have a story with a fish recipe from Cozumel. It's very dicey, and it's really not. Newspapers, unlike ever before, are really happy to fire people. It's good for their bottom line. And if I'm going to take a risk on bringing someone into my fold, I need to have utmost confidence that you're following somewhat closely to our higher standard on that sort of thing. I know that makes it uncomfortable for a lot of people, but it's just the reality of what it is these days. When, I don't want to show up on Romanesco's media news saying, person from Cozumel taints food editor's section.
He loses a job.
We'd rather do without the story than have that fear.
And we deal with it all the time because TV has a different standard, and entertainment TV has a different standard, and luxury magazines in our circulation have a different standard. So I get calls all the time from PR agencies or whoever's pitching and saying, I talked to this person in Tampa, and they said that they're going on this trip. Would you like to join them? And I go, I'd love to. Can't, But I think it's worth it in the long term if you're able to match that level of ethics.
I also think it depends on what you want, what your goals are, because just watching that SEO session this morning, your goal, if your goal is to, maybe it is to get free trips all the time and travel the world and write about it on your blog, and if somebody's willing to pay you to do that, that would be awesome. Maybe you don't care about getting into newspapers, but if you do, you have to play by those rules. Or maybe you don't care about newspapers, but you will write for magazines only. So I think I don't think you should look at it as something that is holding you back. If it's something that you want to pursue, then you have to play by those rules, but maybe you don't. I mean,
I'm bitching about it.
yeah. But the way
On behalf of the industry, sorry.
but the way that
I mean, and it's just a few bad eggs that have unfortunately ruined it for the rest of people. I mean, there's that term swag hag, because unfortunately there are a certain amount of people, and if you get touched with that brush, unfortunately it's going to hit the person next to you and next to you and next to you, and that makes it difficult for absolutely everybody. So if you see somebody doing that, yell at them a lot.
Go for it.
Do you know any bloggers who have put in print? Whereas if you work for a newspaper or magazine, there's a legal staff behind you. If you're a blogger and you post something that's not true, or somebody takes offense to it who might want to go after you, have you ever known of a blogger that's happened to?
I don't know of anybody specifically. I think that when you talk about double standards with the ethics, I think there's a double standard when it comes to our side of the fence too. For instance, it depends on the content of what your story is. If a blogger, there's something about being able to switch a web page very, very quickly and to change content quickly that I think saves you in some regards, not in a legal sense, just from I have a mad person on the phone or in my email yelling at me kind of thing. I know we had an issue where somebody took a bunch of photos. I have like 35,000 photos on my Flickr gallery, just from restaurants and everything like that. And those aren't even all the ones I have. And somebody took them because I went out and did a story about the restaurant. They took them and they put them on their face page on their website. And I had to call them and say, boom, this is our photos, you have to take them off and whatnot. And there's this line that both sides are kind of on that I think makes them susceptible. But I think the print side is because there's a permanence to ink and paper that we really have to adhere to a different standard than maybe even electronics. But thanks to Google, everything's now cached, so it's not as impermanent as it seems.
Go for it.
So I'm seeing fantastic blogs by people like Hank Shaw, who's a hunter, angler, gardener, cook, or something, where he absolutely walks the walk, and he ended up getting a great book deal out of it. There was also, I can't remember the name of the blog right now, but it was a former vegan turned hunter now, and
I think his name is Ted Nugent.
and like that kind of stuff. I've seen more and more of that kind of stuff where people really are saying, like, you know what? I'm fed up with how it's been before. I'm going to transform my life. Here's your window into that. And I respond to few things more than passion and conviction. And so if I see somebody who's doing that and is absolutely delving into a subject, you bet I'm going to turn a spotlight on them.
News. That's what we are always interested first and foremost above absolutely everything.
So in terms of like a restaurant opening or...
Right, restaurant opening, something happening with a chef. Food doesn't always lend itself so much to news. So much of what we consider food news is not actually like breaking news, like there's a tsunami. But anytime there's something, anytime you can say this is the first time X happened or this just happened, that's going to have a high quality to it.
Okay. It's Lori from Lonely Gourmet. And could you comment a little bit about the mindset of a blogger when you're looking at them? To me,